Right, so hello and welcome back to Books and Things, and welcome to another video. And today I have a new bookshelf. So I have a new bookshelf, which is very exciting, and a very nice bookshelf it is too. You can't see that it has drawers down here, which I approve of. So it's got like 3 shelves and then some drawers at the bottom, and it's also got some space on top because it's a sort of wide, short bookshelf rather than a tall, thin bookshelf, which most of my bookshelves in this room are. So I've added a new bookshelf to the library, which is very exciting. I definitely now have used up like all the bookshelf space in this room. I don't think there's any more, but that's fine. I have been meaning to get a new bookshelf for a while because I just have like some shelves that are double stacked and that are a bit too full. And in general, the bookshelves are just a bit overflowing and need a bit of tidying. So I'm gonna put some books on the shelf, and I thought I would make it into a video, and then it might be fun to see me reorganizing some of my books. I don't know when this video is going to go up because I'm filming it in December, but I'm currently doing my TBR advent calendar, and there are tons of videos going up all the time. So maybe this won't go up until January or February, who knows? But anyway, I want to tidy my bookshelf today, so I thought I would film it today. So I think my plan for this bookshelf is on the bottom shelf. I think we're going to have a 19th century history section. I have quite a lot of 19th century history books about either which I have read in full or which I like consult for writing research or research when I'm editing. I work as a freelance editor, and I do a lot of copy edits and line edits of books set in 19th century Britain. So it's quite useful for me both as an author and an editor to have lots of 19th century history books about. And my initial plan had been to have them on my desk, which is where my TBR shelf lives, but my TBR is too big currently, so it's just overflowing. And I've also just added to that sort of 19th century history collection, so that's kind of overflowing. So I think probably they're going to live on the bottom, and then I think the other 2 shelves will be used for classics, because my classic shelves are kind of overflowing a bit on the other side of the room. And moving some classics from my main shelves will also give more space to the contemporary books. So I think that's my plan. And then probably like on the top, rather than using it as a bookshelf, I'm gonna like do some kind of little display thing with some bookish ornaments and maybe some of my own novels. I don't know, I haven't worked that out, but I feel like it will be fun to properly rearrange and tidy my books. So yes, I'm gonna do that, and I will show you how I get on. Hello again. I have finished organising my bookshelves, and I'm pretty pleased with how this one's turned out. So I ended up not doing exactly what I planned, by which I mean not what I planned at all, and I ended up kind of switching my plans for the bookshelves, basically because I realised this bookshelf is not very tall per shelf, so I couldn't fit in the sort of thicker hardbacks, both of my sort of history books and my classics. So what I've done instead is make this a sort of paperback classic section of the ones that like look really neat and orderly together. So I've got like 2 rows of Penguin Black classics, which is very nice, and then I've got like my Oxford World and various other editions, Persephone and that kind of thing down here, and then on the shelf where my Penguin classics used to be, I've put all the sort of miscellaneous classics, and then kind of on my main bookshelves, the 3 that I usually film in front of, I've moved some of the history books there, and spread out the books there that were like double stacked. So there's now a tiny bit more room on the shelves, but mostly I've just like cleared the piles off the floor. I definitely have reached capacity in terms of bookshelf space in this room, so I think I'm probably going to need to start like getting rid of books rather than getting new bookshelves, which is fine. I would say that like my general rule is that if I would rate a book like 3 stars, then it goes to the charity shop rather than me keeping it. But sometimes there's a book that you rate 4 stars and then the next year you don't remember at all. And those kind of books tend to go to the charity shop too. Every now and then I have a little bit of a clear out. I feel like I do that less with classics, so it's nicer to have a bit more space for classics and to kind of like rejig the classics contemporary balance of my bookshelves. I don't know if it'd be interesting to have a sort of proper bookshelf tour. I can quickly go through how I organise my books, but basically the classics and contemporary are separate. What counts as a classic and what counts as a contemporary is broadly around like 1980-ish. So then I have 2 classic shelves over here, and then let me turn the camera around, and then I have this sort of long, tall, thin bookshelf, which now has like all the miscellaneous classics on it, and then I have my sort of like main shelves over here. I'm not going to move everything around to show you because I feel like I've been moving everything around quite enough today. But at the bottom of these sort of 3 shelves, I have 2 rows of hardbacks, and then I have sort of proof copies and now history books in the middle, and my collector's library classics that I couldn't fit onto the other shelves. So moving upwards, I have proof copies, short stories, and then on the left and sort of everything above then is just sort of paperback fiction, and I have quite a few shelves of paperback fiction here. Then I do have one other little bookshelf to the side here, which is sort of children's fiction, with some copies of my own novels at the bottom, and then up here I have my like what I've read this month / TBR pile. And here I have my physical TBR shelf, which is part of my desk. So my desk has a bookshelf on one end of it, and that's where some of my TBR lives, half of my TBR probably, and this is the other half of my physical TBR. This is a little like coffee table / bookshelf, so that's where I put my tea, where I'm reading, hence the coasters, and then I have here the classics from my TBR, most of the classics from my TBR. I also have some like overspill TBR books that don't currently fit on a shelf beneath it, and then on top of the sort of coffee table I have proof copies that I need to read, so they're sort of separated and more immediate. Before we wrap up this video, I'm going to briefly take you back to the new bookshelf, because I've put some fairy lights on it since I filmed the last clip, and I've also put on it my paper flowers, which are in jars at the top, and I was given them as a publication present from my publishers, and they are paper flowers made of the text of The Secrets of Hartwood Hall, which is super fun. That's my debut novel, if you don't know that. They were on my main bookshelves for ages, but I feel like they are more prominent now, which is lovely because I like them a lot. And it's nice to have the fairy lights as well. Makes it feel very cozy. So there we go, those are my bookshelves, and I'm glad to have a tidy library again. I work in here, this is where I spend like most of my time, and it being very messy has been making me a bit stressed, so it's really nice to have tidied up all the books into neat, orderly shelves. So there we go, that is all for now. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll be back very soon with another bookish video.